A meeting has been running for 40 minutes. One coworker keeps dragging the conversation toward a side issue nobody asked about. Another is pretending the instructions are confusing so the work cannot land on his desk. The manager keeps smiling and saying words like alignment and visibility while carefully stepping around the one decision this entire meeting exists to make. The deadline is tomorrow. The problem is obvious. And at that table sits one employee watching all of it unfold, aware that when this collapses, the cleanup will belong to them. There is a special kind of exhaustion that comes from realizing your actual job stopped being the job a long time ago. You are managing the emotions, the confusion, the delays, the avoidance, and the fragile egos of people who are being paid to be responsible. The pain of being the only adult in the room is isolation. Superiority has nothing to do with it. Everyone around you keeps treating reality like a suggestion, and somehow you became the person assigned to the consequences. This employee usually holds no special title, no formal authority, no direct reports, nothing on paper that names them guardian of consequences. What they carry is the ability to see the outcome before it arrives, the deadline that will fail, the client who will get angry, the coworker who has done nothing and is running out the clock, the quick fix that will create a bigger problem in 6 weeks, the vague sentence in the meeting notes that will mature into a crisis with their name attached. Seeing all of this early never feels like intelligence, it feels like loneliness. You are surrounded by people and completely alone in responsibility. You are anxious because you are the only person in the room mentally living inside next week's consequences. Some people attend meetings. You attend the future damage. This person becomes the department's unofficial risk manager, its memory, its translator, its follow-up machine, and its cleanup crew, and none of it appears in a job description or a paycheck. Here's the mechanism nobody says out loud. Immaturity survives in a workplace because responsible people keep absorbing its consequences. The disorganized coworker misses the deadline, gives a vague apology, and leaves at 5 with a backpack over one shoulder. You are the one still at your desk at 9:47, laptop glow on your face, eating dinner out of a paper container while you rebuild the thing that broke. In the morning, it will be called a team effort. The manager refuses to decide in the meeting, so you build the plan anyway, and a week later, that same manager asks why there was no plan. Tension breaks out between two political coworkers, and you smooth it over because someone has to. Every gap finds the same person, which means the people creating the gaps never feel a single one. Bad workplaces do not eliminate immaturity. They outsource its consequences to the most responsible person nearby. The incentive underneath this is perverse. If immature people get rescued every time, they never have to mature. If leadership knows someone competent will clean up the mess, leadership never has to confront the person making the mess. The system learns that dysfunction is affordable because you keep paying for it. And the more you prevent collapse, the more the workplace mistakes your exhaustion for stability. Then there is the labor nobody counts. Emails get softened so the boss does not explode. Vague instructions get translated into actual steps because nobody upstairs will commit to clarity. Somebody has to ask the question the whole room is avoiding, and it is always the same somebody. Deadlines get mentioned diplomatically because reminding grown adults of their own commitments has become a political operation. Your real title says analyst, coordinator, associate, supervisor. Your hidden title says one thing: keep adults from turning preventable problems into emergencies. The exhaustion here runs deeper than workload. It is role confusion. You were hired for one job and inherited 5 invisible ones. The person who caused the problem gets calmed down by the person who warned about it. The spreadsheet leadership vaguely gestured at gets built at your desk. You were never overwhelmed because you were weak. You were carrying work nobody had the honesty to name. Now the twist that makes this lonelier. The adult in the room is needed and resented at the same time. Responsible people make irresponsible people uncomfortable because they remove the hiding places. When you ask for clarity, vague people lose cover. When you document the decision, political people lose flexibility. When you mention the deadline, avoidant people lose the fantasy. When you remember what was promised, leadership loses plausible deniability. You ask one direct question, who owns this by Friday? And the room stops discussing the missed deadline and starts discussing your tone. You ask for the decision in writing, and everyone who sounded certain 5 seconds ago suddenly needs to circle back. In dysfunctional workplaces, maturity reads as hostility because accountability feels like aggression to people who survive on avoidance. So the labels arrive. The boss decides you are intense. A coworker says you are rigid. The team agrees you overthink. HR gently suggests you work on your tone. Underneath every label sits a truth nobody will say in a meeting. Your seriousness exposes their unseriousness. They call you difficult because accurate was too expensive to admit. And then there is the memory. You cannot relax inside dysfunction. Part of your mind is always scanning for the dropped ball, the promise that will evaporate, the person pretending confusion, the vague instruction that will become your fault. You are in the room, but you are not in the same meeting as everyone else. They are hearing updates. You are hearing future excuses. You become the workplace's memory, the record of the agreement, the warning, who vanished last time, who took the credit, what leadership said before leadership rewrote it. That memory gets heavy because in a dysfunctional workplace, memory is treated like a threat. The moment you remember too accurately, you become dangerous to people who survive by rewriting the story. Then one day, the adult stops. No announcement, no confrontation. The third reminder never gets sent. The task someone else owns stays broken. The vague directive stays vague because translating it stopped being your unpaid hobby. The coworker you were never paid to manage finally meets the absence of management. And suddenly, the workplace looks worse, even though nothing about you changed. Your hidden labor had been the structure the whole time, and the building everyone pretended was fine starts showing its cracks the moment you set it down. When the adult in the room stops parenting the system does not break. It reveals how broken it already was. Leadership will notice, and the language will be predictable. You used to be more helpful. You seem less collaborative. We need more ownership from you. Translated honestly, every one of those sentences means the same thing. You stopped covering for the ownership everyone else refused to take. Some workplaces call it teamwork when one responsible person pays everyone else's debt in silence. So here is the lesson, and it is precise. Do not carry responsibility without authority. Responsibility without authority is unpaid damage control dressed up as leadership. Start making ownership visible instead. Not emotionally, not dramatically, in writing. Who owns the decision? Who owns the deadline? Who approved the risk? Who chose silence? Once those things are written down, the workplace loses one of its favorite tricks, the one where the responsible person inherits the consequences of decisions they never made. Let vague decisions stay vague until their owners clarify them. Deadlines you do not control belong to the people who control them. Managers who choose silence can meet the consequences of silence. The coworker with a boss already has one, and it was never you. Stay strategic while you do it. Carelessness, bitterness, sabotage, a dramatic exit, none of that serves you. Keep your standards exactly where they protect your reputation and save your energy for leverage instead of rescue. Stop privately parenting people who outrank you. Becoming careless was never the assignment. The assignment is refusing responsibility for things you were never given the power to control. You were never crazy for feeling exhausted. You were carrying a room full of avoided responsibility, and rooms like that are heavy. If you are tired of carrying rooms you were never given the authority to lead, I wrote the Office Politics Survival Guide for this exact kind of workplace. It breaks down how to protect your reputation, document what really happened, read where power actually sits, handle difficult managers, and stop walking into corporate games blind. The link is in the description, because being the adult in the room is expensive, and at some point you have to stop paying for people who were never planning to grow up.